Hey everybody! In the last couple of videos we have explored how to do a Docker container using Go, NodeJS and Python, and also compared the sizes a little bit and came up with a couple of solutions. And I recently came across another Node runtime, or another JavaScript runtime I have to say, which is called Deno. Just gonna give you a quick introduction to the website, like deno.land. They claim it's the easiest, most secure JavaScript runtime. They also have some compatibility with NPM packages, which is quite new. They claim to have the best developer experience when writing TypeScript, so sounds cool. And yeah, and they support web standards, API, whatever. Like it all sounds really cool. They also have a Docker container, and that's why we have this video, right? So what I want to do is, for comparison, use this little Express app that we had in the previous videos that just returns hello world on port 3000. Just want to do the same thing on Deno and with a Deno Docker container. So let's do this. I'll just create a new Deno folder and I will basically just copy Docker file and server.js into there. And yeah, maybe the first thing to know is that it's not no longer called Node. Obviously, we don't need package.json, we don't need npm install, and it's also not Node in here. So I guess we can get rid of quite a bit here. And what we need is we need to import, or we need to load the Docker container from Deno.land. From Deno.land/Deno, and we can use version 1.20.3, which is at the time of doing this video is the latest version. We can keep the work directory. We need to call this run. Yeah, it's like Deno is the command. It's already baked into the container. You just give the parameters here. And yeah, what's left to do is to go here and say docker build. It will horribly fail, most likely. It might not fail actually, because this is just copy and run, right? But we haven't adapted our code and we haven't told Deno where to load this from. So actually let's do that, right? So let's see how it fails. Let's call this Deno docker, give it a tag, and then just run docker run Deno docker latest. It will fail because it shouldn't be able to find Express. There we go, uncaught reference error. Nice, that's what I wanted to see. So how do we get this to run? There is a built-in syntax. Actually, the website that we just had open has a link to that. So let's go here. NPM compatibility is now live, that's what they say. We can use NPM specifiers, and nicely enough, they have it in the example here. We just need to say NPM Express and then whatever version we want. Oh, and it's not require actually. I think back here it says, yeah, require is not defined. We can import it. So let's do that. And let's just make sure we use the correct version, like the same version for comparison, right? So 4.17.1 instead of 4.18. This is just so we are comparable. And let's build this. There we go. And now let's run this. Let's see what happens. And immediately you can see when we run the container, it starts downloading stuff. This is basically this last command. It's interpreted as, okay, let's go. We want to get this file and we want to use that file. What you also can see is we get a permission denied. We need read access to the current working directory, and it also tells us how to get that. And that's one of the nice security features of Deno. So couple of things we learned, right? So we have at runtime a download, like as you saw, that happened when I entered docker run, not docker build. So that is probably the first thing we should fix, just to improve a little bit. I mean, it would probably work, but you wouldn't want to fetch dependencies at runtime. You want that to happen at build time. And for that, there is a built-in command called Deno cache, and we can cache server.js, and I think it makes sense to put them into those. There we go. And let's just see, do a docker build. And what you should see is at docker build, it now starts downloading all those dependencies. That's basically your npm install, right? Not more than that. And when we now say docker run, it's much quicker and it throws us the permission denied, but that's okay. Now we can start taking a look at this. Okay, we need the allow read flag because it wants us to read. Sure, then allow read. And I actually, like, we can now go through docker build, docker run. I know it needs also allow network. I mean, it's Express, it's a server, so of course it will need the network, right? And it will also need allow environment, or it might need, because we are reading environment variables. There we go. It's asking us environment access to node application, so we need the allow env flag. And again, I already ran this, so I know we also need the allow network flag or allow net. So I added them. Yeah, allow. There we go. And if we build it now and then run it, it should just run. Docker run. Nice. Allow net. I must have misspelled it, didn't I? Yeah, minus. There we go. Didn't save us any time there. It's all live, pre-recorded. No. There we go. So it's compiling, while it's downloading, then it's probably compiling, transpiling, whatever, and run. And there we go. Example app listening at that port. Nice. So what we're now interested in is the Docker image, the size of it. And sorry, I must have misspelled it. Docker images. I do have a couple of them pre-loaded already, so let's just make sure we see the right one. Deno Docker latest. There we go. 198 megabytes. Okay. Now there's a couple of different Deno Docker images available. One of them is based on Alpine. We've seen that before, right? Alpine is like a little bit smaller sometimes, and we can just straight away try it by saying use the Alpine version of 1.28, and we can do that by saying docker build dot, but we specify the Docker file that we want to use with -f, and the output tag is now docker Deno Alpine latest. And as you can see, it's gonna go through the same stuff, downloads all those things. We can probably also just say docker run, and we should also see the same output. Docker run Deno Docker, but let's say Alpine. Must have misspelled it. Give me a second. Did I? I wrote it into Deno Docker latest. No, I didn't. Deno. Oh, Docker Deno Alpine latest. There we go. So Docker run Docker Deno Alpine latest. Yeah, runs. And let's now go Docker images, grab Deno. So I misspelled it, or I did it in the wrong order, but that's the one that we built 39 seconds ago. And you see we just brought it down from 198 megabyte to 135 megabyte, basically for free by just switching to the Alpine version. Now, last but not least, what you could ask yourself the question is, what if I don't use cache? Well, let's just try it out, right? Remove the cache and run docker build. That was quick, obviously, because now if we say docker run, it's gonna download it on demand, which is bad because at runtime you don't want to rely on that. Maybe this is on a system that doesn't have internet access or a poor internet connectivity, or it's behind the firewall, right? But okay, fine, it works. But what is the image size now? 123. So was it 138? It was before, I think. So we saved 15 megabyte. Not too much, but I guess that's it for now. We saw how to do it. And yeah, there's probably some other optimizations that I'm not aware of, right? So maybe you can tell the Deno cache command to be more efficient. You can use Deno bundle, although Deno bundle unfortunately doesn't work with the npm package right there. So you would probably have a different build process, whatever. But yeah, in the end, this worked out nicely. And there's one last thing to compare. Let's keep in mind the 135 megabyte that we just had with the container, with the dependencies, etc. Let's see what was the node image add that we used. And it's called Docker. I think Docker NodeJS. That's what it was called. Yeah, and that one seemed to be at like 93 megabyte. I don't know if that was Alpine or not, but I could assume it would be Alpine. So the image is clearly smaller using Node Alpine. That's what we had here, using that Node version. But nevertheless, that was a very old Node version, 14 months ago, as you can see in the source code. So yeah, Deno will take you a couple of more megabytes in a Docker image, but apparently it is better. So maybe it's worth it. Whether it is worth it or not, please let me know in the comments. You might have a lot more experience than I do with Deno. I'm really just stepping into the first couple of tutorials with Deno. So thanks a lot for watching and see you soon.